I remember the day so clearly. The sun shone brightly as I watched my husband, Kwame, play with our children, Ama and Kofi, in the yard. Laughter filled the air, and I thought our life was perfect. I worked as a nurse at the local hospital, while Kwame was a businessman who traveled often for work. He always returned with stories from distant places and gifts for the kids. My heart was full of joy, unaware of the storm brewing beneath our happy life. One evening, Kwame packed for another trip. He kissed us goodbye, promising to return soon. As I watched him leave, I felt a twinge of unease. It was just a feeling, nothing more, but I pushed it aside. I had my family, my job, and my dreams. Little did I know this would be the last day I felt truly happy. Weeks passed, and Kwame traveled more frequently. I threw myself into my work, caring for patients and finding joy in helping others. But sometimes I felt something was off. I noticed Kwame's phone buzzing more than usual, and he was secretive about it. Whenever I asked, he brushed it off with a smile. I wanted to trust him, but my heart was heavy with doubt. One fateful night, I received a call from the hospital. An emergency patient had been admitted. I hurried to the hospital, expecting to treat someone injured in an accident. But when I arrived, I was taken aback by the chaos in the emergency room. I had no idea that this night would change everything. As I entered the hospital, the air was thick with tension. Nurses rushed around and doctors shouted orders. I joined my colleagues eager to help. Just then, I heard the name of the patient being wheeled in. My heart dropped as I recognized it. Selena. She was the woman I had seen with Kwame several times before. Why was she here? I felt a wave of nausea as I realized she was pregnant. My hands trembled as I prepared to assist. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I had to put my feelings aside. I had a job to do, and lives were at stake. As I looked at her unconscious form, a mix of emotions washed over me: anger, fear, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. As the medical team worked on Selena, I caught glimpses of her medical records. I felt my heart race when I saw my husband's name as the emergency contact. Confusion and disbelief filled my mind. How could Kwame be connected to this woman? Was it possible that he had built another life, a hidden family, while I cared for ours? Minutes felt like hours as I waited for news. Finally, a doctor stepped out to speak with me. "She's stable now, but we need to inform the father," he said. My breath caught in my throat. "The father?" I whispered, my heart pounding. It couldn't be. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I feared the truth would shatter my world. With shaky hands, I dialed Kwame's number. It rang and rang before he finally answered, his voice cheerful. "Hello, my love. I just landed in Accra." I struggled to find the words. "Kwame, you need to come to the hospital. It's urgent." His tone changed immediately. "What's wrong?" I hesitated, not knowing how to break the news. "Selena, she's here," I finally managed to say. There was silence on the line. I could hear his breathing quicken. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice tense. "She's unconscious and you need to come." I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders as I hung up. Would he tell me the truth? I waited, my heart racing, unsure of what the next moments would bring. Kwame arrived at the hospital within minutes. He rushed into the emergency room, and my heart sank as I watched him kneel by Selena's bedside. I stood frozen, torn between anger and sadness. He didn't notice me at first, his focus solely on her. But then he turned and his eyes widened in shock when he saw me. "Why are you here?" he asked, panic in his voice. I'm the nurse assigned to her, I replied, my voice steady. You should have told me about her. His expression shifted from confusion to guilt. I didn't want you to worry, he said, but I could see the lie in his eyes. Anger bubbled inside me as I fought the urge to scream. As I helped treat Selena, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I knew I had to confront Kwame. Later that evening, I pulled him aside. You need to tell me the truth about Selena, I demanded. He looked away, guilt etched on his face. She's just a friend, he insisted, but I knew better. Just a friend. She's pregnant, Kwame, I yelled, frustration spilling over. His eyes darted around, avoiding my gaze. I made a mistake, he finally admitted, but it didn't mean anything. My heart shattered. How could he say that? I thought of our children and the life we built together. It felt like everything was crumbling before my eyes. As the night wore on, I learned more about Selena and the life Kwame had hidden from me. He had been seeing her for months, lying to me about his travels. Each trip was a chance to be with her, to build a family that I knew nothing about. I felt sick as the reality sank in. Selena was not just some passing affair. She was a part of his life. I struggled to understand how he could do this to me, to our children. How could he betray us so deeply? I watched him stand by Selena's side, holding her hand, and I felt a wave of bitterness wash over me. My heart ached for the love we once shared. In the days that followed, Selena recovered, and the truth became harder to bear. Kwame tried to make amends, but my heart felt heavy with betrayal. I knew I had to make a choice, to forgive him and try to rebuild our life, or to leave him for good. I spent sleepless nights contemplating our future. What kind of example would I set for Amma and Kofi if I stayed with a man who had broken my trust? I loved Kwame, but I couldn't ignore the pain he caused. I felt trapped between love and self-respect, unsure of what path to take. One evening, as I sat alone in the garden, I made my decision. I couldn't live in a lie. I called Kwame out to talk. I need to be honest with you, I said, my voice firm. I can't stay in a marriage built on lies. I need to protect our children. He looked at me, panic flickering in his eyes. Please don't do this. I'll change. Change won't erase the past, Kwame, I replied. Tears filled my eyes as I spoke. I can't trust you anymore. It's over. I watched as his face crumbled, the weight of my words sinking in. I had made my choice, but it felt like a heavy burden. I hoped that someday I would find peace. After I left Kwame, life changed dramatically. I moved back to my parents' house with Amma and Kofi. The children were confused and hurt, and it broke my heart to see them struggle. I wanted to shield them from the pain, but I couldn't hide the truth forever. Kwame tried to reach out, but I kept my distance. The more he pursued me, the more resolute I became in my decision. I focused on my work and my children, finding solace in caring for others. But late at night, when the world was quiet, I often wondered if I had made the right choice. As time passed, Selena returned to the hospital for her follow-up appointments. Each time I encountered her, I felt a mix of emotions. I couldn't help but feel anger toward her. Yet I also recognized that she was a victim of Kwame's deceit. One day, as I was tending to her, she looked at me with sadness in her eyes. I never wanted to hurt you, she said softly. I thought he was single. I felt my anger begin to fade as I listened to her. In her eyes, I saw regret and pain. I believed his lies, she continued. I just wanted a family. We shared a moment of understanding, both hurt by the same man. As we talked, something shifted. I realized we were not enemies, but women connected by the same betrayal. We began to communicate more, sharing our experiences and pain. Together, we found strength in our shared story. Slowly, I started to see Selena as a person, not just an obstacle. I encouraged her to be open with Kwame about her pregnancy. He needs to take responsibility, I urged her gently. It's not fair for you to carry this burden alone. Selena nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. I want to do the right thing for my child, she said, her voice trembling. In that moment, I felt a sense of solidarity with her. We both wanted what was best for our children, even if it meant confronting a painful truth. Over time, we began to build a fragile friendship. We would meet in the hospital cafeteria, exchanging stories about our lives and dreams. I shared my fears about raising Amma and Kofi alone, while Selena confided in me about her struggles with being a single mother-to-be. This unexpected bond helped me heal, and I realized that we both deserved better. One day, after discussing our plans for the future, I decided it was time to confront Kwame together. Selena agreed, and we scheduled a meeting. When Kwame arrived, he looked shocked to see us both. The air was thick with tension as we took our seats. "Why are you here?" he asked, confusion etched on his face. "We need to talk," I replied firmly. I explained how Selena and I had connected, and how we both wanted him to take responsibility for his actions. The room was silent as he absorbed our words. "I never meant for this to happen," he finally said, but I saw the guilt in his eyes. "Meaning doesn't change the truth," Selena interjected. "You have a child on the way, and we need your support." Kwame shifted uncomfortably, but I could see he was beginning to realize the impact of his choices. Kwame spent the following days grappling with the consequences of his actions. He tried to reach out to Selena, expressing his desire to be involved in the baby's life. At the same time, he attempted to mend things with me, but my heart remained guarded. I had learned to protect myself, and I wasn't ready to trust him again. Selena and I continued to support each other. We even attended parenting classes together, preparing for the challenges that lay ahead. As we learned about child development and parenting techniques, I felt empowered. I was building a new life for myself and my children, one that was free from lies and deceit. As the months passed, Selena gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. I was there for her, holding her hand during the delivery. Watching her experience the joy of motherhood reminded me of my own children and the love I had for them. In that moment, I realized that despite the pain and betrayal, we were both capable of finding happiness. Kwame came to see the baby, and I watched as he held his son for the first time. I felt a strange mix of emotions, but I knew I had made the right decision to leave him. Selena deserved someone who would love her and the child fully. As I looked at them, I felt a sense of hope for the future. As time went on, Selena and I formed a unique support system. We would often meet at the park with our children, sharing laughs and bonding over the challenges of motherhood. I found comfort in her company, and I was grateful to have someone who understood my pain. Our children became friends, and I cherished watching them play together. One day, while the kids were running around, Selena turned to me and said, "I never expected this friendship. I'm grateful for you." I smiled, realizing how much I had grown through this experience. Together, we were healing, finding strength in each other's stories and laughter. Just when I thought life was settling into a new routine, I received a call from Kwame. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice serious. My heart raced. I hadn't heard from him in weeks. When we met, I saw a change in him. He seemed more grounded, as if he had reflected deeply on his actions. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said. "I want to be a better father, not just to my son with Selena, but to Ama and Kofi as well." I was taken aback. I never expected him to take responsibility. "I want to help you raise our children," he continued. "I want to be there for all of you." I pondered Kwame's offer for days. While part of me wanted to keep him away, I also recognized the importance of co-parenting for the sake of our children. They deserve to have their father in their lives. After discussing it with Selena, we agreed to allow him to be involved, but only if he was genuinely committed to changing. Over the next few months, Kwame worked hard to rebuild our trust. He spent time with Ama and Kofi, showing them love and support. Slowly, I began to see the man I fell in love with, buried beneath the pain and mistakes. I learned that forgiveness is not just about letting go, but also about finding a way to move forward. As the years went by, our lives intertwined in ways I never imagined. Kwame continued to be there for our children, and Selena and I became close friends. Our children played together, creating bonds that transcended our complicated past. I realized that life can be messy, but it can also lead to unexpected joy. We formed a new family, one built on honesty and understanding. I no longer lived in the shadows of betrayal, but embraced the light of forgiveness. Together, we learned to navigate the complexities of love and motherhood, proving that even the deepest wounds can heal. As I watched our children laugh and play, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had faced the storm and emerged stronger, and in that moment, I knew we were all going to be okay. Would you ever have imagined a world where betrayal could lead to such unexpected friendships and love? Thank you for tuning in to Tales Motherland again. We sincerely appreciate your viewership and likes and comments. Please be sure to hit the subscribe and like button and stay connected to us for new intriguing African stories and folktale. Once again, thanks for watching.